I'll have an update later on that national anthem controversy I think you'll find interesting. But there are actually two bad polls for the government today. The other was in the Queensland seat of Dawson, held by the Coalition's George Christensen. Now, it shows One Nation polling an incredible 30%. That's level with Christensen's vote. But Christensen seems pretty comfortable with Hanson and many of her policies, and he joins me now. George Christensen, thanks for your time. This poll in your seat, there's this poll in your seat and the news poll one showing One Nation now on 10% nationally. What do those two together tell you?
Oh, well, look, I think that particularly with the one from my electorate, it's not surprising to me because I'm picking that mood up on the ground. What I think it is a pox on both your houses that we've got going throughout the electorate at the moment, because while my vote, well, the Liberal National vote, I've got to say my name wasn't in the polling, is 30.4%. The Labor vote was 25%. So, you know, neither side of politics can take solace out of that. And I think it just shows we've got to double our efforts to reconnect with the community and start delivering on the issues that matter.
Yeah, but no one's been more high-profile a backbencher than you. I mean, you've really got your name in there and you're taking on the government. You're almost acting like a crossbencher yourself. Is this about you or is it about the party?
Well, look, I've known that those levels of support for One Nation were that high just by going around and talking to people in my electorate, probably ever since the last election. You know, they've gradually gotten a little bit higher with Pauline Hanson's profile increasing, but I detected that they were there, and only a few months ago was I saying to my staff that I think it's around the high 20s or the early 30s. And when I come down to Canberra and have been reflecting things down here that perhaps some of my colleagues don't like to hear, it has been because I'm reflecting that mood in the electorate that people want things to change, they want to shake up, and you know, I think that we've got to do that. We've got to start doing more. Now, I've got to say there's good things that we are doing, talking about coal-fired power stations and building one in North Queensland. Great, that's about jobs, that's about cost of living, that's socking it to the, you know, green ideologues, the religious climate extremists out there that think that coal is bad. And building dams, again, sticking one in the eye of the environmentalists who say dams are bad and terrible because they're going to kill some bottom-breathing turtle. Last time I checked, turtles could swim, but that's what they claim with the one in my area we want to build. You know, that creates jobs and new agricultural industry. So I think people like the ideas that we've got, but they want to see it become a reality. If it becomes a reality, I think we'll start to claw back some of that support.
It's going to be very hard to build a dam in 1.5 years when you haven't even sited the place, mate. I just wonder, what can the party credibly do between now and the next election to save itself?
Well, look, there are a number of dams which we've got that are under planning stage. They'll have to be started. They'll have to be started before the next election. I think if people see that we're real about creating new economic opportunities in the regions, creating jobs, but you know, that's the tangible stuff. There is also other things, values-based things, and you know, this is where you and I very much align, Andrew. I mean, you know, there is a void that is created when people are not standing up to the left-wing extremists, the radical Islamists, all of these troublemakers out there who want to knock Australia and our national values. You know, whether it's people who say that Australia Day shouldn't be held on Australia Day, whether it's people who think that we need to overthrow democracy and replace it with a caliphate like Hizb ut-Tahrir, there needs to be values-based statements out there attacking these people and defending what it means to be Australian.
Does there need to be a change of Prime Minister?
Well, no, I think we've seen that before from Malcolm. And look, I'm not going to be advocating for another overthrow of a Prime Minister. We have seen so many of them in recent history that I actually think it's led to the malaise that we're in, where the public are saying, you know, pox on both your houses. We've seen this mess under the Gillard years, and now we're seeing it, or we've seen it again in the last term of Parliament. They certainly don't want to see it repeated once more. So, you know, the change has to come.
Yeah, but this bloke is not cutting through. You got what? You really think that when you're 10 points behind the polls, the guy that's got you there, you know, first lost you all the seats in the last election, and now has gone even further behind, so it's 10 points behind. You think this is exactly the guy that you need to get you out of this hole?
Well, look, we've seen Malcolm arguing for coal-fired power stations recently, and quite forcefully.
Not quite.
I think that, I've seen it in the Parliament, and I think that he has, you know, but I've got to say that it needs to unleash a bit more on those sort of issues, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens, Andrew. I think that they say a week's a long time in politics. 2 years is certainly a hell of a long time.
If the One Nation vote goes up in your seat, obviously Labor would probably eat glass rather than preference One Nation above you, but wouldn't you be safer if you actually switched to One Nation? That way their candidate, they've got the candidate, and you'd have your rusted-on supporters from the Liberal Party, you'd be home and hosed.
Oh, look, that's a hypothetical that, you know, possible, but, you know, I'm in the National Party, and I'm in the National Party today, and I will be in the National Party tomorrow. I mean, you know, anything.
Yeah, but you just said it's possible.
Numbers, I'm not possible with what you're saying in terms of getting more support, but that doesn't mean that I'm just going to up and change. I want to see change within the government reflecting the concerns of this broad part of the electorate that are saying there's a problem with politics as usual. And I go out and listen to those people. I drink in the pubs with them, sit in the cafes with them in my electorate and talk to them, and then come down here and reflect those views. I want to be able to continue doing that within the government, you know, and hopefully affect change.
George Christensen, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks very much, Andrew.